Right, here we are then. Another Sunday is upon us. Hope you're all having a good week. Welcome to the Sunday live stream on My Left Eye. I'm your host, Lefty. Very warm welcome to everybody here, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Of course, we just had this breaking news that Joe Biden's stepping down from the presidential candidate in the US election. Some breaking news that's just happened. Going to be kicking off with that. It's kind of changed the order of things for tonight. But I have just about managed to make it on time. Yeah, I mean, I guess that was a little expected given recent events, shall we say. But I'll be going into further detail after we've said hello this evening. Also coming up, excuse me, yeah, as it says in the title this week, we've seen record prison sentences for non-violent climate activists from Just Stop Oil. 5 people been imprisoned for, 4 of them for 4 years, 1 of them for 5 years, and there's been a lot of outrage about that as well. And I'm also going to be touching on some other of the UK political stories since we last saw each other midweek on the Brews at 10. Hope you've been well since then. Good evening, Kit. Thanks for joining us on the channel tonight. Hope you're doing really well. I'll get cracking in just a couple of minutes or so. Yeah, the UK stuff, it's in one hand and out the other. The mainstream press today have been trying to laud Rachel Reeves for suggesting that there's going to be an increase in public sector pay. But it's, as I said, in one hand and out the other. Recently we've been talking about the retention of the 2-child benefit cap, which they're going to continue with. A couple of bits about that. So we're just waiting Keith's Fondue Lounge for a few more moments. A very warm welcome as well to anyone who's subscribed recently and to new members. As always, I'm going to be kicking off by saying a huge thanks to those who continue to show solidarity on the channel. So if you can... Hi, sorry. Don't know if the audio went off for a little bit there. I'm not sure at what point that happened. I'm back on now. I believe I've got a signal, showing a signal. I guess I'm going to have to repeat myself a little bit then. I'm not sure where I got up to before it cut off, but I was basically just starting to say that, first of all, Kamala Harris has been suggested as a possible replacement. However, certain high-profile Republicans, I think the Speaker of the House, has suggested that Biden would have to essentially stand down as president, saying that he should quit immediately and not just pull out of the race itself. But other commentators, I noticed, have said that that's highly unlikely to happen. This situation is, of course, it's unprecedented. I'm not as much up on the full history of US politics as I am UK politics and other areas, but I believe this sort of thing hasn't happened before. Certainly not so close to the election itself, which will take place in November, and then whoever wins will become president, inaugurated, sworn in January of next year, 25. H. Lukill, welcome to the chat. Welcome back. Hope you've been well since the last time I saw you. And as always, yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on this story as it breaks in the chat. Let's go through this together. It's not just a one-way street on my left eye. Super chats are also available if you've got something you'd like me to read out or answer urgently. This is a kind of timeline of the events that have led up to this. I'll just read through a few of these. It's all happened very quickly, of course. Just going back to June the 27th, so not even a month ago. That was when the debate was. Incoherent answers from Biden, leaving many wondering about his fitness for office. He is, of course, the oldest ever serving president. Ironically, if he lost the election and Trump became president, Trump would then break that record when he's in office. Neither of them are spring chickens, of course. And so then the day after, Biden hoped to end doubts with a North Carolina campaign speech where he said, "I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to, but I know what I want to do. I know how to tell the truth." And then shortly after that, Lloyd Doggett is that how you pronounce it? Lloyd Doggett, Doggett, is the first Democratic representative to call for Biden to step down. So, yeah, that was just 19 days ago. Then an interview with ABC. Biden says, "Only the Lord Almighty." Of course, trying to win that hardcore Christian vote, like Trump is as well. Could persuade him to stand down, and he will not take a cognitive test. I remember around that point as well, Trump was trying to take the mick a bit, saying that he'd aced all these cognitive tests. Do you remember that when they made Trump do those tests? And they were for infants, basically. You know, it was a basic cognitive test. He acted as though he'd just gone in there and come out with a fucking degree or a master's or something. Pardon my French. No particular love for either of these two candidates, I have to be honest. So then, on to 8th of July, after a weekend of in-party disagreement, Biden told a news show that he's not going anywhere, and he reiterated that several times, didn't he? Then Nancy Pelosi chipped in. It's up to the president to decide if he's going to run, which this article suggesting it made it clear that the matter wasn't settled. George Clooney called for him to quit. I actually didn't know about that. He put it in an op-ed. And Peter Welch became the first Democratic senior to demand he withdraws. There were more coming out then after that, as I mentioned on the last live stream. on the last Brews at 10. That's the weekday live streams here on My Left Eye. And then he conveniently got COVID. I'll say it's pretty convenient that he got to spend some time out of the public eye, respond to these kind of things by getting COVID. I think we could name a certain few UK politicians who tried to use that excuse to dodge media and scrutiny. Of course, a few years back. That's another can of worms. That was obviously a massive one at the NATO summit, yeah. He was introducing Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and he introduced him as President Putin, which there was a clip going round of where you saw Zelensky's reaction to that, and it wasn't a good one. In terms of international diplomacy, this wasn't just a banana skin, it was way beyond that to accidentally refer to someone as their absolute worst enemy. Of course, that conflict's still ongoing. That's bad. That's pretty bad. Even from a statesman point of view, that's really bad. Another clip went viral of Biden forgetting Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's name in an interview, where he also says he'd drop out if a medical condition emerged. Again, with the COVID thing, was he getting checked out? Is it actually some form of mental health problem or dementia or whatever it is? It's got to be something, obviously, because this is huge. Gary O'Donoghue has written this update. He's obviously a massive US reporter. You'll have seen him on the Beeb. And he says it's down to his performance in swing states. Of course, they're going through the campaigns. They've had the primaries and whatnot. The campaign trail in America is a lot longer than in the UK. Of course, it goes on for months and months. And so Biden's not been doing too well. Okay, so this one came in just before I went on live. An emergency meeting has been held by the Democrats. Now, if it did become Kamala Harris and they somehow could claw back from being behind in the polls, it suggested that obviously Trump got that massive boost recently and they need to catch him up. Kamala Harris would, of course, be the first ever female president, should she win, with Hillary Clinton being unsuccessful when Trump got his first term. And then, of course, he threw his toys out the pram and goaded an insurrection when he lost the subsequent election. Okay, that's the statement in full. I won't read through the full thing. It's a good 8 paragraphs or so. But I'll just pick out a few things. I know that he said that it's been the proudest moment of his life. It looks like the first part of it is he's trying to accredit himself for the things that he's achieved, lowering prescription drug costs, etc. As you'll often see, this isn't obviously a parting statement. He's still going to, at the moment, be president until November. But as per Rishi Sunak's recent departure speech, he goes on to pat his own back as he starts. He's mentioned quite a few things there. So just go through the last parts of it. Says it's been the greatest honour of his life. And while it has been his intention to seek re-election, he believes it's in the best interest of his party and the country for him to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling his duties as president for the remainder of the term. So he's not putting himself first. Like I said, they never get a great choice in America, and that's true in this case. However, you certainly wouldn't see. I don't think you would see Trump stepping down. You know, he says he's going to speak later in the week with more details, but he has endorsed Kamala Harris, who is, of course, vice president at the moment. And it was mentioned just before I came on air on the live stream that there's some essential controversy after, of course, of the primary votes, that they now will be switching candidates. And again, it's coming from the Republicans, of course. They're going to try and, they're going to try and use this as strong as the Democrats are going to try and give the impression that they are, you know. I think Trump's going to milk this just as much as he did the shooting incident. I don't think this will help the Democratic Party, although, you know, it has been expected, and obviously if there is some medical issue, he should stand down, but it's definitely not going to help them. So, as concerned as they were about these swing states, I think what would be more of an overriding factor would be to give Trump another stick to beat the Democrats with, because he's obviously already milking this shooting incident, like I said. But on top of that, now he's going to be making the most out of this situation as he can, saying that the party's weak, and whoever does replace Joe Biden, Trump's obviously going to start laying into them. Perhaps he'll come out and say that this is actually undemocratic, and try to make cases similar to those that I mentioned about swapping the candidate. I want to know what you think about that as well, actually. The way that the system works, it's obviously a lot different from in the UK, and I wouldn't be lying if I said that obviously that topic of replacing candidates is something that I've spoken about on the channel before. Obviously, when we had our election recently, that's something that I was particularly critical of, where the Labour Party concerned. Although these were just primary elections, they weren't the actual main election itself. It's kind of a different argument. So yeah, they've passed the primaries, but then that's again not the full election, is it? But do you think it is perhaps somewhat undemocratic? Yeah, you're right though, Kit. Some of Trump's most recent speech was pretty rambling, but apparently he's a hero. Well, he is to his supporters now, and oh God, since this thing happened, you'd seen these idiots walking around with things on their ears. That's their new way of supporting him. I guess that's the new version of the MAGA hat. And a lot of medics have actually pointed out that the dressing that they've put on is perhaps way too big for sort of standard procedure. So he's obviously trying to accentuate it, and now it's turned into this strange thing where his supporters are doing the same thing. It's almost I don't know. It's like something that Monty Python would do, or something like some deleted scene from The Life of Brian or whatnot. You know, like with the shoes and that scene. Anyway, uh, so that's nuts. That's nuts. I've forgotten if I was talking about something else there. So will there have to be some sort of internal re-election process? You know, so on top of it, it's only November when the actual election itself is. You've got this on top of that, so you're going to have, I mean, Kamala Harris might just run uncontested or whatever. She has the endorsement of the current president. But if she doesn't run uncontested, then on top of the election campaign itself, you're going to have this internal leadership campaign to deal with as well. So it's a roll call vote. That's been cancelled. So that's what would normally formally nominate Biden. Okay, I'll just go back to the top, see if I'm not going to go through that whole shebang, just see if anything's come in the last few moments while I've been scrolling through. Some activists have showed up at the White House, so and obviously a lot of tourists milling around. Wow, says an older Texan man in a thick drawl. Says, I can't believe he actually did it. Can't believe he actually did it. Yeah, well, of course he'll still have his supporters, of course. This is unprecedented. But that seems to be more or less it. He's going to address the nation in coming days, as I pointed out. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Strange. Unprecedented. Unprecedented. That's precedented, not presidented. Careful on the pronunciation there, everyone. If you're watching on a replay as well, let us know what you think about this in the comments. Just another reminder to hit the thumbs up button on the stream. Help us reach more people. If you're also watching on a replay, like I said, please do use super thanks. They're open as well on videos and live streams. I think we'll move on. For now, there's not much more really coming in on this. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of you know, a lot of chit chat before he makes this speech, but a lot of that's going to be neither here nor there. Oh, this is quite new. Clintons have endorsed Kamala Harris as well, former US President Bill, and former nominee Hillary Clinton, who, as I said, ran against Trump in 2016, both endorsed her as well. They posted on X. Well, let's not bother. Let's not bother. There's some other stuff from Twitter, I should say, that I'm going to be talking about later, but I won't get too carried away with this. Been on for about 30 minutes now. Going to move along. Oh, first of all, yeah, didn't do a comedy clip at the top of the show as I normally would on the Sunday live stream, and some of the Brews at 10 live streams as well. But just wanted to quickly get into that breaking article as it came out. I do have a little something lined up though. It's not the usual kind of comedy clip that I have on streams. That is, it's not a professional comedian doing a bit, which is normally, you know, the main one we have. You know, Matt Green, Doreen Skinner, Jonathan Pye, et al. Broken News. It's actually a compilation of footage from France. We're going to move from the States over to French politics briefly, just with this clip. There's the members again. Thanks a lot, guys. Right, where are we? Just find this. So, of course, the French election, the right wing didn't do particularly well, as we saw. And yeah, with a major victory for a left-wing social alliance. And when it comes to the actual ceremonial process of what happens when people are sworn into Parliament, it's a bit different from the way we do it in the UK. As I've mentioned before, you know, regular viewers will know my thoughts on what I think about the these farcical traditional ceremonies such as the King's Speech are. But in France, they do things a little bit differently, and I'm just giving some context for the clip before I play it, because just if you're not familiar with the background of how this all works, you might not wonder what's actually going on here. So the tradition in French Parliament is that as each member of Parliament goes up, they put their oath into this sort of porcelain container thing. Kind of looks like a vase. You'll see it in the clip. And but the tradition is that the youngest person in Parliament stands there, and the people put the piece of paper in, and then they walk past and shake the hand. However, on this occasion, the youngest member happens to be from the far right party, and there were quite a few of the new members of Parliament who got up and showed their utter disdain for the types of views that they have. You know, the xenophobia, the racism, the misogyny, etc. And they refused to shake his hand. So they just blank him. He gets blanked, and he's left a bit befuddled as to why. But yeah. So this is kind of a compilation of the times when he got blanked, and it's pretty good. I like this. Right, where are we? Oh, it's just here. That bit was great. You see that bit? So he plays a little game of rock, paper, scissors with him. Let's watch that one again. Yeah, that bit with the rock, paper, scissors. It's good. Oh yeah, I do need to find out who the original uploader for this was. Credit to them, whoever they are, for putting this together. This isn't one of my own compilations. I should have just pointed that out. I think you can see the logo in the top left there. Apologies. I'll try and find out the name. But let's. There's more to come. Do just want to watch that bit again. Oh, and scissors beats paper, I'm afraid. that got a bit loud at the end there. Yeah, apologies if you were in headphones. That did get a bit loud at the end there, but that was, I mean, a pretty confrontational stance. Yeah, but that's fair enough, I guess, because these right, and I'm so happy that France managed to keep the far right out. You know, because we're seeing far right governments being elected in other European countries at the moment, and if it happened in France, that'd be particularly worrying. Particularly worrying, given, you know, given 20th century history. So yeah, unlucky, Marine. Oh well, get your small violins out. That was a good clip. Right, I better crack on. Times are flying. I'm not on the minutes just yet, but I can't stay on too late this evening. Still got lots to get through though. Stay with us here on My Left Eye. Thanks for being here. So yeah, this next, this was just from a few days ago. It was the Thursday when this story broke, which was the day after I did the last live stream. So this is the first time I've been on since it happened. But regular viewers will know, of course, that groups who take non-violent direct action is something that I like to talk about on the channel, being an environmental and political campaigner myself. And yeah, I've taken action with groups in question, not the particular action that this story is about, but I'm sure that you've already heard about these record sentences for Just Stop Oil supporters who essentially they've been sentenced to 4 and 5 years. 4 of the 5 defendants were sentenced to 4 years, and one of the co-founders of Just Stop Oil to 5 years. These are record sentences, essentially, for having a Zoom call, for hosting a Zoom call where people on the call were asked to take part in the action in November 2022, where people attached themselves to gantries on the M25 and held up the motorway. And it was warned after the trial that there would be heavy sentencing, long sentencing. We've seen some pretty draconian stuff coming through, and this is all because of the police crime and sentencing amendments. H. Lucal, yeah, thanks for that. Nice reminder as well. The Vichy regime in France. There are obviously particular elements of history that we don't want to see repeated in the 21st century, and I, for one, was particularly worried that things could have gotten particularly bad in France. As I said, yeah, thanks a lot for that super chat. Yeah, just on back to this. So where was I? Yeah, the judge did say that there were going to be lengthy sentences. The previous record before this sentencing was 2 men who scaled the QE2 bridge, the Dartford Bridge. That was, again, around a similar time in late 2022, in August, excuse me, sorry, in October. But they got 2.5 years and 3 years, respectively, Morgan Trowland and Marcus Decker. So they're actually both out now. They've both served around half of their sentences. So that record has been broken by some margin, with sentences of 4 years and 5 years, and it's appalling. And with the anticipation of this, there was a lot of support outside the court. Was organised, including a lot of well-known faces. So I'm going to go through some of the clips of the attendees there, some particularly well-known people. First up, I'm going to show you Hugh Fearnley-Whittinstall. There are also others there, but this is obviously, you'll recognise him, TV chef, but also campaigning in support of Just Stop Oil here and against this absolute draconian sentencing, which is an affront to democracy. This was clearly a political decision by the judge, not a judicial decision. I'll make no apologies if I do start to get a little bit ranty about this, because this is obviously something, as I mentioned, that's very close to my heart. As was the story I talked about on one of the last live streams about the 50 protesters who were arrested for holding flags as part of Youth Demand. These are some people who I know personally who I know are wonderful people and just did what they did because of how concerned they are about the climate crisis. And this utter affront to democracy puts us all in jeopardy when it comes to our civil rights. It doesn't matter if you particularly support what Just Stop Oil are concerned about or other issues. Your right to protest is being taken away from you by legislation such as the Police Crime and Sentencing Bill. It's also been further damaged by earlier legislation just last year, the Public Order Bill as well. And now it's getting worse and worse and worse. And whatever you might have to one day stand up and fight for, that right is being taken away from you. Sometimes slowly, piece by piece, but then sometimes there are major blows, and this is one of them. Whatever you think about organisations such as Just Stop Oil, Youth Demand, your right to protest is being had at, and there are calls for this legislation now to be scrapped by the Labour Party now that they're in government. After I've shown you this clip from Hugh Fearnley-Whittinstall, we're also going to hear later from Clive Lewis and also other people actually within the system, Jenny Jones, who's in the Lords as well. Now, we've got to get this message through to Starmer. Before I just show you this clip of Hugh Fearnley-Whittinstall very quickly, please, if you are concerned about this and you're horrified about this sentencing, there is a petition ongoing which you can sign if you go to juststopoil.org or go to their Twitter page. There'll be a link there, so please do get this raised in Parliament. If enough signatures are reached, I'm sure that Clive Lewis, for one, would be happy to bring this up in Parliament. But first, as I said, from Hugh Fearnley-Whittinstall and all of the people who attended, made excellent points, excellent speeches. So let's hear from Hugh.
I wanted to be here today to mark this extraordinary and grievous occasion because I see it as a moment where we all need to take stock. Today, Cressida, Daniel, Louise, Lucia and Roger, a group of peaceful protesters who...
And remember those names, please, because, as I said, these are people who I know myself, and they are just the most wonderful, caring people you could imagine. They don't, deserve to be vilified like this just for standing up for all of us and choosing to take action. They've been charged with essentially conspiracy style charges for hosting a Zoom call, and that's what this is all about. Spurious legislation with words such as conspiracy is pretty worrying. And Kit you're saying in the chat you get involved with direct action too, and this is pretty worrying. Yeah, it is. Everyone should be concerned for this. The right, you know, the likes of the Mail and the Sun have tried to have a holiday. You know, they tried to embellish this as much as they can, which I think is equally repulsive. How they dismiss things so serious as the climate crisis, which puts us all in jeopardy in so many ways. So yeah, sorry to interrupt, but please do sign that petition. Remember those names. These are good people, and what's been done unto them is an absolute injustice.
Care about the future of our planet have been really viciously sentenced under some extraordinary, wicked, pernicious legislation, which should just not be in place. I think it's increasingly obvious to all of us that these laws were put in place to protect the fossil fuel companies and to protect a version of business as usual that continues to damage the climate and harm us all. But
yeah, good point. The money and the power behind all of this is sickening. And I wanted to point out that the particular judge in question gave some very lenient sentencing to a pair of people who attacked two police officers, I believe, without provocation, and one of them one of the officers who was attacked received a fractured skull, and I think they got something like 6 months suspended sentence or something like that. And the same judge in question was also, well, you're going to hear about this. It's going to be mentioned in one of the later statements as well, particularly leaning on a child sex offender. By the way, just going back to the two lads in question as well, who attacked the police officer and fractured one of the skulls, it just so happened that the father ran a business that was worth about £500 million. Just wanted to point that out, although I'm sure that's entirely a coincidence and there's no particular corruption going on behind closed doors, is there? Of course. Well, unbelievable. What a broken system we live in.
it should be clear that these laws also remove the rights of every British citizen to engage in peaceful protest. They also deny our rights to defend our actions using hard scientific facts and powerful moral arguments.
This is one of the other things, and it's not just in this case, it's been in other cases, where, again, people I know have been the defendants, and they're not even allowed to mention the climate crisis. I'll say, fortunately, in the trials for actions that I've had, I've not had that myself. I've been allowed to talk about the climate crisis. It depends on the kind of judge you get, I guess. You know, whether they get out of bed in a good mood or not in the morning. But in a lot of cases, they're not even allowed to call expert witnesses, such as Professor Bill Maguire, who I've mentioned before on the channel. He's spoken out about this as well. But when you're not going to take the expert testimony and choose to listen to the science, and also there are other heinous crimes where the defendant would get to cite their motives behind their actions, but you're going to deny that to climate protesters simply for speaking the truth.
Case, the hard scientific facts about climate change and the irresistible moral imperative to do something about it. It is, of course, significant that just 2 weeks ago, the people of Britain chose to replace the government that crafted these abominable laws. We got rid of them. They are gone. But the laws, unfortunately, remain. A new government should be a new opportunity. It could be a good thing. That this new government has begun to show some intentions to re-engage with the climate fight, with perhaps a not quite such a great sense of urgency or as far-reaching policies as some of us would like, but with ideas that will make a difference. This should also be a good thing. It's almost as if the new government, unlike the previous one, which did almost everything it could to block progress in addressing climate breakdown,
Yeah, they did, just very quickly. They completely ignored the legally binding commitments that we've made at climate summits, etc. In fact, they've gone the other way. They've issued new fossil fuel licenses, and even Director General of the United Nations himself, Antonio Guterres, has spoken out about these kind of policies.
Almost as if they've been listening to the millions of citizens of this country who demand action on climate. You could even say it's almost as if they heard the 5 brave individuals who were sentenced today. 5 people who found ways to shout louder than most, who managed to get themselves heard in ways that millions of us don't have the chance to do. You could almost believe that this government thought these 5 people might have a point. But if our new government lets these vicious laws and these horrific sentences stand as they are, if they let these 5 amazing people and their incredible families who we've just heard from, if they let them suffer this unbelievable injustice, then they fatally undermine their credibility as lawmakers, as possible harbingers of a just transition.
Damn straight, yeah, absolutely, 100% correct, on the nose, on fire there, yeah. Preach, Hugh Fairley-Whittinstall. This is in Starmer's court now. I'm going to go on to that. If Starmer does not overturn this legislation, this is going to be his first major cock-up. Is, of course, continuing with Tory austerity policy, as I've touched on before and will be later into the stream. But in terms of opposition from within the institution itself, I think that this is going to be the first instance where you're going to see that if he doesn't overturn this legislation. And we're going to hear from Clive Lewis and Jenny Jones shortly, as I said.
To a greener, cleaner, safer planet. And they undermine their credibility as decent human beings. In this society, we cannot put people behind bars who have simply urged us to do what we know in our hearts is the right thing to do. And that's why I wanted to be here today in solidarity with all of you who've come here to make your feelings and your passions heard. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you want to rewatch any of these clips, they're on JSO's Twitter page, so you're going to be going there to sign the petition anyway. I'm sure you are, because you're all awesome people. Get over there after the stream, and please do put your names down there, and you can check out any of these other clips again. And now, you know, so-called human rights lawyer Keir Starmer, the onus is on him now, and we have to keep the pressure up. Hopefully this will get brought up in Parliament, hopefully by other means, by other peer pressure, literal peer pressure in this case, as you're about to see. We can get him to overturn this legislation with, you know, pretty quickly, pretty rapidly, because it's got to go. And the Home Secretary, of course, should certainly make her position clear on this as well. Kit Gilmore, thanks a lot for the super chat. Yeah, solidarity. Thanks a lot for that. We've all got our right to protest. To live in such an age in the 21st century where we're not seeing progress, we're actually seeing the reverse, should be worrying for all of us. Have we learned nothing from history? Have we learned nothing of the science that the corporations and previous governments have ignored in the UK? Starmer has to show that he has learned something, but his stance on climate protesters has already been made clear. A clip from other action after other actions that JSO carried out, where he said, referring to people who were blocking a road, he just said, "Get up, go home. I don't approve of what you're doing." And there's been further digs since then as well. But it's not just, that was a great speech by Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall. Unfortunately, he doesn't have internal political power. It's great, he uses his voice very well, and I'm sure that this clip's got a lot of views already. His support is amazing. However, there are also others who could perhaps have more of an influence on Starmer, and should have more of an influence on Starmer in this case. Well, one of them is a direct funder of the Labour Party itself, and that's Dale Vince, who runs a renewable energy company, as I've mentioned before. I also pointed him out as a Labour donor in another video. He's come up now and then as well, of course, with the Restore Nature Now festival, which I did coverage of a few weeks or so ago. But he's very concerned about this, and that could put pressure as a donor to the Labour Party on Starmer. He has also in the past been a financial supporter of Just Stop Oil as well. It needs pointing out. So his stance on the cause is clear, and now he's got to use his influence. We know who political leaders listen to the most. We know who people like Keir Starmer listen to the most, and that's private donors. So Dale Vince has his ear, as do Clive Lewis and Jenny Jones as well, who are going to be coming up after this from Dale Vince himself. And if you've not seen any of himself and Chris Packham, who also has done massive amounts of support for JSO, then please do check out that Restore Nature Now festival. I think I got a wrist slap for using their clip. So yeah, I can't play it on the live streams, but do check that out as well. So this is Dale Vince.
Do we live in Russia? What are these sentences like for peaceful protest? You could expect this kind of sentence for armed robbery, GBH. For peaceful protest? I can't believe it. And then to hear what the judge said in approaching the sentencing, I thought that's premeditated, cold-blooded violence, judicial violence perpetrated on these 5 peaceful people. And I think it's shameful. And worse for me, not worse, no, equally bad for me, is the idea that climate denial, which I meet every week on right-wing TV and radio shows, climate denial of the actual science of the problem that we face, is at the heart of our judicial system. And we have a different kind of denial now. You can't talk about it. You can't use it in your defense. I think that's incredible. I think the judge himself is not fit to be a judge. I'm sure there will be an appeal, and I do very much hope that our new government repeals the laws that brought this about. And I can't actually hear you, but I hope they do repeal the laws, and I hope they do something for these brave, peaceful people and lift these sentences. Thank you.
Yeah, and the kind of donations to the Labour Party we're talking about are, 5, 6, 7-figure sums. And I hope Keir Starmer's listening to these statements from Dale Vince. The daily confrontations on right-wing TV and radio shows that he mentioned there simply shouldn't be allowed to happen. You can have as many arguments as you goddamn like about free speech. However, something that has been scientifically proven to exist and be real shouldn't basically, there shouldn't be a platform where that can be contradicted or where people can try to deny that. It's unbelievable how many people have their heads in the sand when it comes to the climate crisis. Even still, in this day and age, with all of the amount of study that's been done, the advances in technology to get more accurate readings and surveys, etc., it just you know, there should be no room for it. There should be no platform for it. Yeah, fine. Debate the best way to go about it. You know, the path that we're going to have to go on to stop ourselves going over a cliff edge and reaching all these tipping points. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But actually having climate deniers themselves on some, you know, pretty big platforms just shouldn't be allowed. Where things that are scientifically proven are concerned. Right, so into the respective houses itself we go, from donor Dale Vince to an actual newly re-elected Labour MP, Clive Lewis, who does have to point out that he's representing himself and not the government at the start of this clip that you're about to see. I personally think that he's in the wrong party now, Clive Lewis. I'm sure he's a very good MP for his constituents as well, but he's also got a very good moral stance as well. He's spoken about climate before. He's spoken about what happens to climate protesters when they're mistreated like this before as well. He's also stood up for Palestine, and he will certainly have Keir Starmer's ear just as much as Dale Vince's. So again, Keith, you better be listening. You better be listening.
I'm here to represent myself. I'm not here to represent the government. I must make that really clear. I'm here to represent my constituents, the thousands of them who sent me back into Parliament. I'm also here to represent all of those people out there who will consider this to be a travesty, something that should never have happened. And I was sat here thinking, you know, as we stand in the shadow of such vast corporate wealth and power, talking about our justice system and how it has been corrupted by that wealth and power, we can actually see the outcome of that. This is a class issue. We can't get away from that fact. You know, one of the other sides of things that I like to talk about are about the people of the Caribbean and the justice that they deserve for hundreds of years of exploitation that carries on to this day. And the oil companies are in the City of London are an integral part of that. And that wealth and that power is now what is now interfering in our justice system that has.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, what I think he's hinting at there is what I was referring to earlier, you know, about other cases where the same judge has been lenient on them. I think that's perhaps what he's getting at. And yeah, it's all interlinked, and this is definitely a class issue.
Led to this point. So I will be backing calls for a meeting with the Attorney General. I think that that needs to happen as a matter of some urgency. I will be raising this in Parliament, as I'm sure many others will be as well. I also think that those laws that have allowed this to happen need to be overturned and put into the dustbin of history. And I will be cheering a Labour government on to do as much as it can to stop oil extraction, to stop that exploitation, and to ensure that those 5 are released as soon as possible. I'll finish by saying I think the political establishment, those with wealth and power in this country, need to make their mind up on the issue of oaths. Because sometimes they want you to take one, and other times they deny you from taking one. And
yeah, obviously he's referring to the incident when he was being sworn into Parliament, where he made a bit of a protest statement about the farce of still having to swear loyalty to a royal sovereign, and that they made him redo it in, you know, the way it's traditionally done. But this is a really good point about oaths. So first of all, they're really heavy on them. You know, you've got to do the oath properly. And then, as he's about to refer to, when you go into court and you swear an oath to tell the truth, you're actually denied the right to tell the truth by the judicial system, which is as ironic as it is an affront to democracy.
Actually going through with it, nothing but the truth, the whole truth. They were trying to tell the truth, and they've been denied that ability, and they've been sent down for 5 years. It's wrong. It should stop. It should be overturned, and they have my support. Thank you very much for your solidarity.
Well, this has got to come up in Parliament, whether it's in a separate debate or it gets raised at PMQs or both. It definitely has got to come up quickly, because this should not be happening. This should not be happening. And from the House of Commons now, we're going to hear from Jenny Jones, who's from the Greens in the House of Lords. Greens, of course, quadrupling the number of seats that they got in the House of Commons. And fortunately, you know, like I said, there are deniers, but in terms of public consciousness, climate crisis is on the rise, and we're seeing that in Parliament, even in such a broken system that we have with first past the post. But you know, 4 million votes for the Green Party as well just shows where public opinion is increasing.
I sit in the House of Lords for the Green Party, and one of my delights is attacking the other side of the chamber, the government, on all the vile things they've been doing. Now, of course, now we have a new government, a new Labour government, and what I'll be saying to them next Wednesday when we have a debate on justice and home affairs, I will be saying to them, how can you let this sort of thing happen on your watch? Surely you care about justice. And quite honestly, I think there's going to be a lot of them who do care. I think a lot of them, and we've got one here today, perhaps, who really care about this sort of thing and will not want their national party to actually limit their actions. And so I would like to echo something somebody said right at the beginning, which is we cannot afford to give up. And I'm going to keep slogging it out in the House of Lords. You might not think it's a slog, but really it is. And I will get out there on some actions, and I will actually always maintain that people who are peacefully campaigning should not be sentenced to jail when the jails are already full, and this Labour government is saying they're going to let out sexual predators. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, it did go through my head when Starmer first announced that he was going to be trying to deal with the overflowing prisons, the how full they are by letting people out when they've done 40% of the sentences. I was thinking he was making room for climate protesters. Who knows? Where could it go from here? Are people going to be arrested at other demos and strikes and marches and thrown in prison? How far is this going to be allowed to go? And yeah, those sentences were handed out on Thursday, as I said. And we've got to see something happening as soon as possible. Just want to say as well, I'm not going to actually go through this. I'll just show it to you. So Chris Packham and Dale Vince did an article about this as well, if you want to check that out in I think that's in The Guardian. Yeah, there. So just bear with me. And please do read that as well. That's a picture of the defendants outside court. So that was written by Chris Packham and Dale Vince. Do check that out. Sorry if you can't really see the writing there. It's grey on white for some reason, but please do check that one out as well. It's titled, "You may find Just Up All annoying. You may dislike their tactics, but they do not belong in prison." And well said. Right, it's after 9. We're going to have to move on at the moment, but final reminder to sign that petition, please do go to justupall.org, or you can check that out on Twitter as well. On the Twitter page there'll be a link for that, and those video clips I just showed you are available there. They come from JSO Media, credit to them. I'm going to move on to the updates just in some other UK politics very quickly, before I go on to updates about Gaza. Just over this hint that Rachel Reeves might be putting up public sector pay. So this is supposed to be above inflation public sector pay rise. I will dash through this. I will dart through this. But again, there's not a lot in it because they're holding people back as well by sticking to the 2-child benefit cap, and they've said even more recently that they're going to carry on with that. So a peer review recommended an increase of 5.5% for teachers and some NHS workers. Of course, during negotiations over industrial strike action, the NHS have asked for much higher than 5.5%. I think after what they went through in COVID and the amount of pressure that's been put on them by all the Tory cuts, personally I would say that 5.5% was somewhat of an insult. And I guess the same, obviously the same goes for teachers. Teachers deserve a lot more as well. But these are just hints. It's there could be nothing coming from it. I think after the criticism they received about the 2-child benefit cap, that so I'll just move this over. They had to be seen to sort of doing something to help people out. But this again just shows the contradictions, because they said there was no money to scrap the 2-child benefit cap, but now the estimated cost for this are $3 billion. So they're not, they won't tell us where they're going to find this from. Maybe they'll just sell off more of the NHS to pay for it. Again, ironically and tragically. So inflation's at 2%. That would be above inflation over, it's about 2.5 times inflation. Is it just crumbs on the table though, even if she does come through with it? Even if Rachel throws that little tidbit on the table. So just reading through, she also told BBC government will carry out a landmark review of pensions as part of a big plan for growth. I don't know if that sounds scary. Again, the same syntax. Growth, kickstart this, roll out that, deliver. Sick of hearing it. 15 years of that with the Tories, and now it's just the same old crap. Yeah, that was with Laura Kussenberg, if any of you can stomach Kussenberg and Reeves talking to each other for longer than I can. Just a quick clip here, and then we'll have to move on.
I really value public service workers in our schools, in our hospitals, in our police as well. At the moment, we are looking at those pay review body recommendations, doing the analysis, and we will work with public sector workers on that. But we also know that there is a cost to not settling, a cost of further industrial action, a cost in terms of the challenge that we face in recruiting and retaining doctors and nurses.
I'd rather watch grass grow. Yeah, I mean, these are supposed to be. This is supposed to be her patting herself on the back and trying to show something positive from the Labour Party. But I've seen more life in a tramp's vest. It's just, the monotonal, you know, and the nasally voice with Starmer. There's no enthusiasm there whatsoever. What's supposed to inspire people the way that, you know, they had hope under the former leader of the Labour Party. And Kossenberg, at the moment, of course, is just full of sour grapes because she's a Tory fanboy and they got wiped out in the last election. Don't know why she's so bothered, though. Surely she knows that this is just same policies, different faces, and particularly boring voices in Rachel Reeves' case, and a lack of vim or vigour in every department whatsoever.
And teachers as well, but we'll do it in a proper way and make sure that the sums add up.
That's just, you know, again, more boardroom talk crap. We'll do, you know, how many examples do I go through on the channel? Just this boardroom talk, and they think it'll appease people, they think it'll pacify people, but it's crap. Even if you, I think the article's still up, literally underneath this on the BBC page, earlier before the Biden story broke, was that article, just right there, that she's not going to lift the 2-child benefit cap. It's literally at the same time. But I have, yeah, I've been over that on previous streams on the channel. Won't get carried away with the same topic. Just wanted to update you on that one. Like I said, I've got to go through things pretty quickly. Yeah, so updates from Gaza now. What shall I start with? I've got a couple of articles and a clip. Okay, here's the first one, because I've got a clip of Corbyn, who's always great in Parliament when he stands up in support of Palestine. So this refers to that. This is Alex Barneycoats on Twitter. Thanks a lot for pointing this one out. Sorry, it's just taken a minute to load. So yeah, credit to Alex Barneycoat for pointing this out. It's confirmed that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer authorised British fighter jets to escort Israeli fighter jets to bomb Yemen yesterday. The strikes are confirmed to have killed at least 3 civilians and injured another 87 more. Why did he do this? Of course, there's an awful humanitarian crisis in Yemen, as there is Palestine as well. Is this what he's put? Is this what you want your taxes going towards? So our jets escorted Israeli jets to bomb Yemen. Is the way it worked out. Just have a look at some of the comments. Yeah, do check out some of his stuff as well, some of his content. Someone says, because he's a Zionist, and Zionist occupiers first. We've got a man intent on causing World War III at this rate. Is he trying to prove that he's better and tougher than his dad, who allegedly made tools but owned his factory? Yeah, of course. Meme there. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. His mentor, Erland Dar, has posted that. Blur. Regular viewers or newer viewers who are eagle-eyed will have noticed Blur's portrait in the background during Keith's Fondue Lounge on the streams.
I sit in the House of Lords for the Green Party, and
Apologies.
one of my...
Just left the last clip up. But obviously Corbyn, as always, has been outspoken on this. He now sits as an independent, of course, in the Commons. This is one of his latest statements as well. Let's check that out.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Isn't it very obvious that Israel is herding the entire population of Gaza in a sense of utter desperation, of poverty, of lack of food, of lack of medicine, of lack of water, and serious injuries that cannot be treated, and that ultimately its aim is to expel the population of Gaza and reoccupy it itself? Does he not think it's time that we supported a call for a ceasefire, as every other nation in the world has, and stop being isolated in this ridiculous approach in which we're saying somehow or other a ceasefire can't work? You have to start somewhere to save life. You have to start somewhere to prevent this catastrophe getting even worse, on top of the 18,000 already killed in Gaza. Thank you.
Yeah, bang on. All Keith's doing is dragging his feet on this. And again, it's all, you know, a very thin veil where he's trying to act as though he's calling for a two-state solution, for Palestine to be recognised as a state now, just because, obviously, the weight of public opinion. But a lot of people out there, of course, remember how many MPs were whipped into abstaining on a ceasefire in November last year. And other countries are way ahead of us. Spain have recently said that they're going to be recognising a state of Palestine. And of course, we heard the same after the French election with the left-wing alliance there saying that they would recognise a Palestinian state within a fortnight. So why is it taking us so long, you know? And why are we still funding and arming this crap? So speaking of which, I'm going to go over to quickly skim through an article from Declassified UK. This is about emails in a Israeli war crimes case that Keir Starmer is involved with, and he's refusing to release files on how he blocked the arrest of former Israeli foreign minister over alleged war crimes during a bombing in Gaza in 2008. Zippy Livni. So that's the article there. Yeah, it's from declassifieduk.org. Shout out to Declassified. Good work. Yeah, a few bullet points. Coalition government changed the UK law in 2011 to enable Israeli ministers accused of crimes to visit Britain without fear of prosecution. Things have changed since then, though. Of course, the ICC have put out an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel himself, and if he leaves Israel, he could find himself placed under arrest in any of the countries that are subscribed to the International Criminal Court. So Declassified have asked the Criminal Prosecution Service to conduct an internal review into its decision to censor the Starmer emails. He was asked by a human rights group and law firm to issue an arrest warrant for former Israeli foreign minister who was visiting London over alleged war crimes. Of course, this situation didn't just start on October the 7th last year, we all know that. So it's a Freedom of Information request that Declassified have put in, asking for all communications to and from Starmer's office regarding the case, and they could shine a crucial light on the discussions which led to Livni's escape from prosecution. However, the CPS has censored a number of the emails, claiming that the release of such information will prejudice the effective conduct of public affairs. Starmer's role requires closer inspection in light of the Labour Party's ongoing support for Israel's brutal war on Gaza. That's a redacted email. It's just a big square blotted out. And he was Minister of Foreign Affairs for 3 years between 2006 and 2009 when that took place. With disregard from the separation of powers between government and the judiciary, the then Prime Minister Gordon Brown and Foreign Secretary David Miliband both phoned Livni to apologise for the incidents. Brown subsequently pledged to make procedural changes to, quote, universal jurisdiction legislation, unquote, in England and Wales, whereby a person committing serious crimes overseas can be prosecuted in another country. This was intended to follow Israeli officials' visit to Britain without fear of prosecution. Hypothetically, what would happen if Benjamin Netanyahu made a state visit to see his friend Keith over here? I mean, this comes as no surprise to me, obviously. We know how much he's received from Israeli lobbies, for example. We know his close ties to Zionism, his open support of Zionism. Remember, of course, we're way past the crap that criticising Israel can be construed as anti-Semitism. This is about Zionism. So how's about that then? How's about that? He does love to remind us how he was, you know, Director of Public Prosecutions, doesn't he, so much? But maybe he won't like being reminded about this so much. Yeah, so any, you know, anything he's going to intend to do is just going to drag his feet on. And again, he might try and throw a few crumbs on the table. But we've seen the lengths he's prepared to go to, the way he hijacked that legislation, just to make sure that it wasn't recognised that Israel was carrying out a collective punishment on Palestinians. He went to such lengths as to, you know, threaten the Speaker of the House, who's a Labour member, that he wouldn't be reselected. Unbelievable. So, we know what he's really about. We know what he's actually about. It's plain for all to see. I'll just check. I think I've got another bookmark here. Just bear with. Oh no, it was that one about the fighter jets. I've already been through that. Yeah, like that's appalling. That's, again, appalling. He's ruthless, and it's all, you know, he's trying to seem so boring and without personality, but at the same time he's actually utterly ruthless is the thing about him. And he is so establishment all the way. He's 100% establishment. He was only put into the Labour Party, you know, because he was trying to stop a genuine democratic socialist from becoming Prime Minister. And unfortunately, he and others succeeded in that regard. Right, let's dip back to the lounge. Whoops. Did it again. No, I've already had that. Yeah, guys, I just want to give another shout out to the members of the channel before I leave you. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, fine people. I'll be back with you again, of course, through the week with Brews at 10. Keep an eye out for that. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out. I also try and post on the community page about upcoming streams as well. Further thanks to these incredible people for showing solidarity with enjoying the perks. Please do share the channel with social media and stuff as well. Massive thanks to every single one of you. And again, further props to those who've recently gifted memberships to others. And just going to check if... don't go anywhere, people. I'm just going to see if anyone's live. We can raid in. Let's see if anyone's around. If they're not, I'm going to post the No Justice link in the chat in a moment. Is anybody on? Ah, there they are. Yeah. So please do stick around. If you're watching live, you'll be raided straight into Helena's No Justice stream. Great content from her as well. She's often joined by Kevin Logan, who's awesome as well. He's got a separate channel, which I encourage you to check out. I've just updated that. Yeah, so don't go anywhere. I'm going to be popping over there myself shortly. You'll see me in the chat. And yeah, just a final thanks for being here tonight. You've all been wonderful. Thanks a lot for the super thanks. Super chats, I should say. H. Lukill and Kit Gilmore. Thanks again for those. And as well as all the other comments and stuff. Thanks for keeping it cordial and polite as usual. Right, that just about brings it to a close. But if you're going to join me on Helena's No Justice channel, I will see you there. Otherwise, take care of yourselves. And my left, I'll be seeing you soon. Good night.